It was early March, and I had woken up very early in the morning, maybe 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just laying there thinking about the podcast, thinking about episode 200 that was coming up, and thinking about what would be a way that I could celebrate this occasion. And I thought, you know what I should do? I should do a Where Are They Now episode. So I put together a mailing list of all my guests from 2019 and prior and sent it off. And I thought, if I can get 10% of the people to respond, it'll be a success. So in the end, I had 24 people respond with recordings of what they've been up to. So I was pretty excited about that. I hope you will enjoy this bonus episode in celebration of the 200th episode of the Pursuit Zone podcast, a Where Are They Now episode. And I should mention that these responses were recorded between mid-March, mid-April 2020. So let's get this show started, and I'll be back at the end to say a few words.
Hi, I'm Anna Hughes, and I appeared in podcast 103, where I talked about my 4,000-mile cycle ride around the UK coastline, and also about my book, Eat, Sleep, Cycle, which I wrote about that journey. That podcast was recorded back in 2015 when I was living in London on my narrowboat and working as a cycling instructor. I then decided to go on a little boating adventure. The beauty of living on a movable home is that you can relocate anytime you wish. So a few years ago, I took my boat a couple of 100 miles from London to Bristol along the inland waterways. It's a journey you can do by car in a couple of hours. It might take you a full day to cycle it, but it took me 2 weeks to go by boat. I could have walked quicker. But the beauty of slow travel is that you discover a completely different aspect of the places that might be quite familiar, and you very intimately get to know them. For this journey, I spent some time on the gorgeous Thames, not on the wide, busy part that I know so well going through London, but on the rural, peaceful, luscious part heading into Berkshire. Then it was the Kennet and Avon Canal all the way to Bristol. I loved the ingenuity of the canal infrastructure, especially the 29 locks in a row at Cane Hill, and the serenity of the river with dragonflies and kingfishers and all sorts of waterfowl. And of course, for a boater, plenty of gin and tonics. Slow travel has always been something I've been a massive advocate of, and finding adventure on your doorstep. So I've always kept my adventures close to home, and the more I discover, the more I realise there is to discover. And of course, keeping your adventures local means there's no need for a flight, which brings me to what I'm doing now. I'm currently the director of Flight Free UK, which is a campaign group asking people to take a year off flying. It's about breaking a habit and becoming a more conscious traveller, because of course not flying doesn't mean not travelling, it just means travelling by different means and to different places. I'm really keen to show you can access incredible places without flying, and to show how the overland experience is just so much richer. Last September, I cycled all the way from London to Nice in the south of France. And along the way, I went through Provence, which is where you'll find a mountain called Mont Ventoux. And I cycled up each of the 3 ascents of the mountain to complete the challenge called Les Cinglés du Ventoux, which translates as the Madmen of Ventoux. Mad for cycling up a mountain 3 times. And that's a story you can read about on my website, which is still annacycles.co.uk. So that's me, still loving the outdoors, still undertaking adventures, still writing about them, and still encouraging people to do the same with as small an environmental footprint as possible.
This is Callie Magina. I was a guest on episode 145, which detailed a 9-month expedition called Following the Line, which went along the perceived border between Europe and Asia. My expedition partner, Charlie Walker, and I traversed the length of the Ural Mountains by ski, kayaked the Ural River, and then biked to Istanbul. Since then, expeditions that I've done for fun include cycling the Continental Divide Trail here in the U.S. Unfortunately, last year I tore my ACL skiing, and surgery and recovery from that ended up taking most of the year. But since then, I've been working as a field support and safety coordinator for the U.S. Antarctic program, so working down in the field in Antarctica. For my last project, I was a member of a NASA team that was measuring the height of the Antarctic ice sheet. And since then, I've been working on getting my pilot's license.
Hi, it's Tom Dennis here. I featured on episode 44 of the Pursuit Zone back in 2014, speaking about my running around the world. I ran from Sydney back to Sydney, all the way around the world, in 622 days, which was a new world record at the time, since been beaten though. Since then, in the intervening 6 years, I've maintained my running. In fact, I haven't missed a day of running in 15 years, more than 15 years. I also wrote a book about the run around the world titled The World at My Feet, which you can access from Amazon or other book outlets. But I've mainly been concentrating on a non-running related endeavour, developing a technology that converts the energy in ocean waves into electricity with a company called Waveswell Energy, and the website is waveswell.com. If you'd like to know more about my running, you can also visit the website tomsnextstep.com. Anyway, I hope that everyone is being very active and enjoying their time out on the road or whatever it is that you might be doing. And hopefully one day, perhaps, I might run around the world again and I might bump into you. Bye for now.
Hi there, this is Ian Packham, currently in coronavirus lockdown in London, England, but hopefully back exploring the lesser-known corners of the world sometime soon. Congratulations to Paul on 200 episodes of The Pursuit Zone. As an adventurer, travel writer and speaker, I've been lucky enough to have my adventures featured in 2 episodes. My 25,000-mile circumnavigation of Africa by publicly available transport is discussed way back in episode 50, and we chat about my 700-mile solo trek from the southernmost to the northernmost points of Bangladesh more recently in episode 169. Here's to 200 more episodes, but in the meantime you can keep up to date with all my adventures at encircleafrica.org.
My name is Tristan Ridley, and I was on episode 177 of the Pursuit Zone. I last spoke to Paul from Tanzania around about 2/3 of the way through my ride from Cairo to Cape Town through Africa as part of my 100,000 kilometre round-the-world bicycle trip. Since then, I have completed my crossing of Africa, cycling through Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia and South Africa, to arrive in Cape Town after 9 months cycling down from Cairo. I then took a flight from Cape Town to Sao Paulo in Brazil at the start of South America and cycled down through Brazil and Uruguay into Argentina at Buenos Aires. I then flew from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia on Tierra del Fuego, Argentina, at the southernmost point of the Americas. Since then, I've spent the last 3 or 4 months cycling north between Argentina and Chile through Patagonia, heading eventually north to my goal, which is Alaska at the top of the Americas. I'm currently stuck in Bariloche, Argentina, because the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic has shut down South America, and so Argentina is currently in full quarantine and has been for the last 3.5 weeks so far. Borders are all currently shut and domestic travel is currently prohibited, so for now I am bunkered down, but I do hope to continue cycling as soon as it becomes possible to do so, hopefully within the next couple of months. Alaska is, regardless, still at least a couple of years' ride away from me, so I'm in no particular hurry. For anyone that wanted to follow me, the easiest way to do that is probably through my Instagram, where you can find me at Tristan Rid.
Hey, Paul and Pursuit Zone fans. I'm Alison Young. Paul captured 2 backpacking stories of mine, one from way back in the mid-90s when I trekked up the Baltoro Glacier in Pakistan to K2 Base Camp. That's episode 159. More recently, we had a chat about my completion of the Te Araroa, a nearly 2,000-mile through hike in New Zealand. That episode is number 176. You can find out more about me at blissfulhiker.com. Well, I returned to my home in Minnesota last spring after hiking the TA in New Zealand, and my employer changed the rules on our leave agreement, and my job was eliminated. That was not a happy time of my life. But I have to say, I have this amazing husband who, although he really missed me terribly over the 5 months that I was in New Zealand, even though he came for the last 3 weeks, he told me the only way I was going to manage my shock and sorrow at that moment was to go out and hike another trail. But, his suggestion was not to just walk a few hundred miles over a few weeks, but to give another long-distance hike a shot, specifically the Pacific Crest Trail. So I was totally dumbfounded. I mean, the PCT is longer than the TA. I just got home. I was ungrounded. I was traumatized. But his argument was I still had my sponsors on board. I was super fit, and I was 100% boss-free. So I still kind of didn't go all in. It was late June. I needed to start from Canada. So what I did was I bought a one-way ticket to Seattle. I found Trail Angels on Facebook to get me to the start, and I sent just a few resupply boxes to ski resorts in the North Cascades. I mean, I figured if I came home after 1 week or 2 weeks, fine. Well, the thing is, this past summer was the ideal time to walk southbound on the PCT. I started on July 1st. There was some rain, but the deep snow was melting, and I only had to use my ice axe and crampons once. Okay, well, actually, I should change that. I should have used my ice axe and crampons once. I didn't even use them. I ended up sending them home, asking Richard to send some more boxes, and I walked the entire PCT. It was fantastic. I had great wildflowers. I had amazing weather. I had incredible views. And I did it. So 5,000 miles in 1 year. The loss just turned into an opportunity. And I mean, particularly right now with COVID-19, the PCTA Association is asking hikers to change their plans. So congratulations, Paul, on reaching your 200th episode. That is so cool. It's a testament to all the amazing people in our world pursuing their adventures. Keep it up. And if you want to read my daily hike diary from the TA, the PCT, any of the other hikes I've taken, like in Pakistan, you can do so from my website, blissfulhiker.com.
Hello, my name is Adam Gill, and I was on episode 181 of the Pursuit Zone. I recorded that in the summer of 2019, and since then, a lot has happened. I was on a big old world bike tour. I had cycled through Asia and through North America, and I cycled in the end 20,000 kilometers, and I called my journey to an end in December 2019, so about 6 months after recording the episode. My original aim was to get from the top of Alaska down through to Argentina, and I called it a day in Louisiana. I didn't make it all even into Central or South America. And the reasons there for me finishing was I was running out of money, so I was looking at putting a bit more balance and earning some money before hopefully continuing on the road again in the future. But since returning back to the UK, I've managed to get a job, and the job is pretty good. I get to travel a lot with work. I'm an analyst working as like a contractor with the British Army, but as a civilian. And I have just spent the last month in Kenya working there with the British Army and the Kenyan Army, which was really cool. And I had to come back this week, really quick, short notice because of the coronavirus. And I'm now back in the UK. And I'm really just now taking this time to just reflect and plan for my next big adventure. The next big adventure for me, I feel, is to build a van. So buy a van and turn it into a camper. I want to have myself a bit of a nomadic base, something I can travel around the UK and Europe in, and take my bike with me and be able to get into a really remote and wild places in my own country. And having seen lots of remote places all over the world, I feel like I don't really know the remoteness of the UK that well. So if you want to watch me convert my van, you can look at my YouTube channel where you'll be able to see it. All my, I think it's 82 episodes from the bike tour, the big world bike tour that I did. And you'll be able to watch future episodes as I convert a van into a camper. You can find my channel by putting in Adam Hugh Gill into YouTube, or if you search Adam Cycling the World, it should come up with me. But yeah, that's my update, and thank you very much for having me in the summer as a guest, Paul. I really appreciate it. All the best, and thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Catherine Lowry, and I spoke to Paul on the Pursuit Zone with my husband David Lowry way back in April 2013, and we talked about running South America. It was a well-first expedition, and we ran the continent 6,504 miles. Since then, we have had some children. So we sailed over to South America and did the run. Then we had to sail our boat home. So we ended up taking our little boy back with us. So we went from Uruguay all the way up the coastline and then set off from Brazil to the UK, which ended up to be a 2-month direct sail with our little boy. And then we've had a little girl. And we decided we had so many friends and just missed the wildlife and those incredible wild places of South America so much. So we went back to South America with our 2 children, and they were 2 and 4 years old. And we set up trailers, made trailers, found some bikes, attached them to the back of the bikes, and set off on our bikes in the rainforest of northern Argentina, which is really high endemicism for incredible birds and other wildlife. So we had an amazing time then, pretty hardcore with the children. It's really hard going when it was raining and they looked like orange urchins in the Amazon mud. So that was a little mini expedition. And also I wrote a book about our expedition called Running South America with my husband and other animals. And you can buy that in loads of bookshops online and also at my website, 5000mileproject.org/shop. And you can get a signed and dedicated copy from our website. So it's been really fun. And now our next adventure is with our now 3 and 5 year olds. We have moved to the west coast of Scotland and we've moved onto a farm which we want to bring loads of wildlife back to restore the landscape to how it might have looked a couple of 100 years ago. And we are going to set up a wildlife and barefoot running and wild running retreat so people can come and enjoy this incredible wild area. So lots and lots of ideas. And if you want to find us, then I write on 5000 Mile Project at Twitter and also Facebook, Nature Running and Adventure. Good luck to you all. I hope you have lots of wonderful adventures in incredible wild places with amazing wildlife following you. Cheers.
Hey Paul, this is Ryan Wichens. Along with my buddy Gabe Messer-Cola, we chatted way back for episode number 12 about a backpacking trip that I took bisecting New York's Adirondack Park, as well as episode number 100 about an Alaska Range mountaineering trip that Gabe and I took. I think the last time we spoke I was still in college, so since then I've moved on to the Rockies and started a career as a full-time freelance journalist for a handful of outdoor magazines. Still been climbing, often with Gabe up in the Cascades and the Rockies and some other spots in Alaska, as well as down in Mexico not too long ago. But the big one is actually coming down the pipe here shortly. We were teased by Denali back in 2015, and we're finally making that trip back. I was actually supposed to be on my way up there as we speak, but that's not happening for obvious reasons. So next year, 2021, my team and I are taking a swing at a route on the peak, which actually hasn't seen crampons in something like 25 years. So I'm stoked to get back into some of the more remote parts of the Alaska Range. If anyone's curious, we'll have more info on that trip soon at ryanclimbs.com/Denali. Anyway, congratulations on 200 episodes. I'm stoked to hear more and hope to keep in touch. Stay safe.
Paul, massive congratulations on reaching your 200th episode. That is absolutely incredible. I had the pleasure of being interviewed by you on May 1st, 2016, episode 111. My name is Sarah Williams. I shared more about running the Marathon des Sables. Since then, what have I been up to? So much stuff. I have hiked, I have biked, I have become a qualified yoga instructor, become a qualified personal trainer. There's been a lot going on. But let me just tell you a little bit more about me. So I started the Tough Girl podcast and the Tough Girl Challenges, which is all about motivating and inspiring women and girls. And one of the ways that I do that is by doing my own sort of physical challenges to get out there and to show others how I do these challenges, where's my starting point, what I'm learning on that journey, how I pay for it, how I train for it, how I mentally prepare. After running the Marathon des Sables, I decided I wanted a bigger physical challenge, sort of a longer challenge. And I ended up through hiking the Appalachian Trail, which is 2,200 miles, and it runs from Springer Mountain, Georgia, all the way up through 14 states to Mount Katahdin in Maine.
I actually ended up daily vlogging this challenge as well. So you can watch all of the highlights on YouTube. If you want to have a giggle, go and watch episode number 97, where you see me sort of very wet in the rain, very broken, very disheartened, thinking that I'm never going to reach the summit of Mount Katahdin. Incredible challenge, did test me mentally, physically and emotionally, but I learned a huge amount from it. After I came back from through hiking, I went on to do my master's in women and gender studies, where I wrote my dissertation focusing on women, adventure and fear. I've actually built quite a platform now with Tough Girl Challenges. There's over 300 episodes for people to listen to. The Tough Girl podcast is listened to in 174 countries. It's had over 1 million downloads. And I just wanted to add to my own personal knowledge. So by going back to university, I ended up doing that. After handing in my dissertation, I flew over to Vancouver in Canada, where I bought a secondhand bike and started my next sort of big physical challenge, which was cycling down the Pacific Coast Highway, which was, again, an amazing experience. Over 4,000 kilometers. I crossed the border from America over into Mexico and cycled down the Baja California into Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. An amazing experience. You can also watch the daily vlogs of that challenge. In 2019, I did quite a few hikes, actually, a lot of sponsored hikes now. I've had more companies reaching out to me, wanting to work with me, which is, brilliant to see. In September 2019, I walked the Camino Portuguese, 675 kilometers from Lisbon in Portugal to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. And I did that challenge with Cicerone, an incredible guidebook company. And then I ended up the year walking the Lycian Way in Turkey, which is one of the top 10 most beautiful walks that you can possibly do. Also one of the top 10 most brutal walks you can do. It was incredibly challenging. I actually started January 2020 over in Australia. My brother has family over there, and I was lucky enough to head over to Tasmania, where I walked the Overland Track. So there are videos and vlogs live for you to watch. But to find out more about me and what I get up to, please do go and visit toughgirlchallenges.com.
Hi, Paul. This is Ellen Kobo McDonough and podcast episode TPZ200 on May 17th, 2015. What am I up to? Okay, I wrote a book about my Mississippi River trip. It's called One Woman's River, a solo source to sea paddle on the mighty Mississippi. And I illustrated the book myself so I could share my story. And then I paddled the Missouri River during 2 summers from Three Forks, Montana to St. Louis, Missouri on the Mississippi River at the mouth of the river. Then last year in summer, I camped for a month on fjords in Norway with the Spirit of Norway expedition. And we paddled and camped on the fjords, and we looked around at the culture and the people there and had some great experiences. Then I've been doing art exhibits with paintings based on my travels, and of course speaking related to that as well, at schools, events, etc., etc. I did an artist in residence at some schools here in the area and taught children how to sketch from the natural world and how to see deeply into nature. And then I just continue writing and painting about my adventures. That's where I'm at right now, and I thoroughly enjoy that. If anybody wants to contact me, they can, my book is available on Amazon.com. And again, that's One Woman's River. And they can also email me, and the email address is in my book. So nice touching base with you, and take care all.
Hey there, Pursuit Zone. This is Chris Hague. I was in episode 180 with my wife, Sophie, talking about our bike tour from Alaska to Argentina. We were on the road for about 2 years and made it into southern Chile, but decided to hit the eject button as COVID-19 was sweeping the globe, and right now we're bunkered down in southern Utah, tuning up the bikes and dreaming about future adventures. I'm hoping to write a book about our travels, and in the meantime, you can check out our blog at theplacesip.com.
My name is Jennifer Kingsley, and I was on the Pursuit Zone in December of 2014. That was back at episode 74. And I talked about a trip I took, a canoe trip, 54-day canoe trip, east-northeast through Nunavut in Canada, across the Canadian Arctic. And since then, my adventuring life really has taken a very different turn, because now I focus on culture. And I've been fascinated with telling the stories of people ever since I spoke to Paul in 2014. And it was really that wilderness trip that helped me to realize how little I knew about culture in these landscapes that I had previously considered wilderness. And so I started a project called Meet the North, and I followed recommendations. I started in Norway. I worked in Iceland, Greenland, Baffin Island in Canada, Arctic Alaska, Arctic Russia, and I would ask one person who they thought I should meet next and who they thought I should meet next. And I just kept following those recommendations for 3 years through 6 nations all over the Arctic. I've since started doing similar work in French Polynesia, and I've been sponsored by a company called Lindblad Expeditions and also by the National Geographic Society. So I became a National Geographic explorer. I've written a bit for them, for the magazine as well, in my writing career. But the real fascination has become, how can people show us the land, show us the landscape, and how can personal stories become a real vehicle for cultural understanding? And I have absolutely been privileged, honored. It's been an amazing gift to just visit so many different kinds of people, stay in so many different homes, and see so many different landscapes. But rather than as a paddler going for hundreds of kilometers on an Arctic river, it's been really wanting to understand the land from the perspective of the people who know it the best. And my most important professional skill now, I would say, is definitely listening. And that's something I hope I'm getting better at all the time. You can find me on Instagram at Jennifer Kingsley. I post lots of photos and stories from these adventures that are ongoing. So it's been great to be part of the Pursuit Zone.
Hello, everyone. My name's Oscar Scaffidi, and I was on the Pursuit Zone episode number 171 in June 2019. During that episode, I was talking to Paul about kayaking the Kwanza River in Angola. Since speaking to Paul, I've actually moved to Tunisia in North Africa, and I'm now writing the Brat Travel Guide to Tunisia. It's the first English language travel guide to this country in over 10 years. As well as writing a travel guide to Tunisia, I'm actually going to be filming the process for my new YouTube channel called Scaffidi Travels. So if you would like to follow along and see what it's like to write a travel guide for a living, please look on YouTube and look for Scaffidi Travels. So that's spelled SCAFIDI Travels. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Ollie Broadhead. I first appeared on the Pursuit Zone podcast. I think it was podcast 114. It would have been in 2015, and I just walked across South India. So I was following the Kaveri River, which is one of the sacred rivers of India, and it pretty much goes the whole way across the southern end of the country. I started on the east coast in the Bay of Bengal and walked all the way to the west coast at the Arabian Sea. And the whole journey was about 1,200 kilometers, took just over 2 months, lived very cheaply. We were living on, the two of us, me and Angus, a friend from university, and we were living on about £1 a day. It was absolutely incredible experience. We went through mega cities, we went through cloud forest, we went through some very arid landscapes. It was in a drought at the time. We encountered leopards, elephants, everything in between. So it was absolutely brilliant and very affordable way to spend the summer holidays between semesters at university. The next big project I did was the next year actually. It was me and my girlfriend, who were both studying biology at the time. We went out to Sumatra, which is an Indonesian island, to try and conduct a survey of this remote valley. But unfortunately, when we got there, our permits ended up getting denied. We think that was because there was some illegal logging going on in the area. So what we ended up doing was this 500-kilometer mega transect across the whole of the island, looking at how bird diversity changed as we moved through different habitats. And we used this mega survey as an excuse to go into some very remote forest that was unresearched and try and climb a previously unclimbed mountain, Mount Kurik, which sadly we failed, but we made a third ascent of another mountain, Mount Lombu. Yeah, so since then I've had quite a few small adventures, but nothing too big. The next big plan was for this year, for in about a month's time, was to go and sea kayak the Inside Passage, starting up in Alaska, up in Glacier Bay, and kayaking down to either Vancouver or Seattle, which would have taken about 4 months, the route I wanted to take. Obviously, that's been put on hold, certainly for the present. So using this time to plan, do a bit of research and apply for some grants. And hopefully that will go ahead in 2021. So thank you very much. And I hope you will stay safe and well, obviously, over the next few months, but also that you manage to plan some wonderful expeditions and adventures for when we are able to go back out into the outdoors again.
Hi, my name is Charlie Walker. I was on episode 87 of The Pursuit Zone back in 2015, speaking about a 4-year, 43,000-mile bicycle journey I undertook through Europe, Asia, and Africa. Since then, I have undertaken a 8-month triathlon by ski, kayak, and bicycle with an expedition partner, Callie Magina, who I think was on The Pursuit Zone speaking about that. We travelled along the perceived border between Europe and Asia. I've written a couple of books about the aforementioned bicycle journey, Through Sand and Snow, and On Roads That Echo are the titles of those 2 books. And I've been a couple of times to Papua New Guinea. I undertook a journey there, pack rafting down some whitewater rapids, hiking through some quite remote jungle in the highland interior of the country, and paddling down a river to the ocean, climbing a few mountains along the way. And I was back in Papua New Guinea last month until the coronavirus forced me to come back to London a bit sooner than planned. I'm not entirely sure what the future holds right now with a lot of travel plans uncertain, but hoping to get back to Papua New Guinea sometime next year. And I've also been doing quite a lot of rock climbing for the last year or so, and so hoping to get to some bigger and taller multi-pitches over the coming months. Lastly, if you'd like to follow me online or get hold of either of those aforementioned books, then you can visit charliewalker.org.
Hey Paul, this is Tim and Linda, and we were your guests in episode 178 in July 2019.
When we did the podcast with you, we were in Indonesia after having cycled there from the UK over the course of just over a year. So we now actually just arrived home from that same trip yesterday, so here's what's happened in the meantime. We cycled through Indonesia some more, then we flew to Australia where we bought a used tandem just because we wanted to try something different, and it also helped with the headwinds. So we rode the tandem through the outback and then along the coast for 3 months. Then sold it again in Sydney and flew to New Zealand, where we continued on our normal bikes. New Zealand was definitely amazing in terms of scenery, although the roads were pretty narrow, the drivers pretty bad, and the weather was challenging. So we didn't really feel it was ideal for cycle touring, especially if you're not on a mountain bike, in which case you could just not go on those pretty narrow roads. So after 2 months in New Zealand, we flew to Los Angeles in January and cycled through Southern California, Arizona, and a tiny corner of New Mexico. Highlight in the States was probably Joshua Tree National Park, which was really cool. We then crossed into Mexico and cycled through the middle with the plan to end our trip in Cancun, but eventually decided to go home earlier because we probably wouldn't be able to anymore due to coronavirus if we'd waited any longer. So we did cycle to the Gulf of Mexico and flew from the city of Veracruz to Cancun a few days ago, and then from Cancun to Toronto. And from there, Tim flew to the UK and I flew to Germany. So we're actually not in the same place at the moment because we wouldn't be able to enter each other's countries. That's how our trip ended after pretty much exactly 2 years and just over 40,000 kilometers. So we were pretty happy that we made the distance of the equator at 40,075 kilometers. And you can find our blog at pedalingtheplanet.wordpress.com. So that's PEDALLING, theplanet.wordpress.com.
Hi, Paul. This is Scott Jarek. I was with you on episode 185. And I talked to you last in October when I flew from Bali to Australia to start heading across to Australia. And Australia gave me quite a few challenges, from hills to heat to bushfires, cold, rainy, windy. It was a whole bunch of everything. And I ended up getting stuck. The Nullarbor itself, which I thought was going to be the hard part, was actually the easy part. And except I got stuck for 6 days because of the bushfires. When the police finally let us through, they wouldn't let me ride my bicycle. So I had to get a ride for about 300 miles, and the 6-day delay kind of put me behind because of my visa, so I had to rush to Perth. Made it out of there, and from Perth I flew up to Chiang Mai, Thailand, and I wanted to ride a little bit through Thailand. I was looking for Buddhas, because I do want to put together a picture book of Buddhas of Southeast Asia. And I was going to head down to Cambodia and probably stay a month or two in Cambodia. I needed to get a new passport. Mine was filled up. And my original plan was to get to China, ride through a bit of China, Mongolia, go to Europe. But of course, plans changed. And right now, I'm in Siem Reap, Cambodia. And I've been here about 5 weeks. And I knew I was going to have to be here for a while. So rather than stay at a guest house, I rented an apartment. And that allows me to kind of just hang out, which is what I'm going to do until the virus situation clears up. And I don't know where I'm going to head because I don't know what month that's going to be. And luckily, because my trip has no end date or anything like that, it doesn't matter if I'm here 2 months, 3 months, or even a year. I can just play it by ear. But hopefully I'll get out. There's not too much of a lockdown here. They let people do what they want, and I'm able to get out on the road and stay away from everybody. But I'll be hopefully heading out in a few months and get back on the road. I'm up to over 18,000 miles so far on the ride, and I'm looking forward to putting in more miles going someplace instead of just riding around here. And if people want to follow me, right at the moment there's not a whole lot, but I just populated my page on Facebook, and you can follow me on Strokes to Spokes on Facebook, and I should be posting things as time goes on and showing a little bit of what I'm doing here in Siem Reap. And hopefully everything will work out, and I'll be back on the road listening to your podcast soon. Have a good day. Bye.
Hey Paul, this is Joel from episode 170 on Solar Van Life Adventure with Joel Hayes and Keegan Tacori. This is Joel Hayes from Route del Sol, and I'm just giving you an update on our project. Basically, since we spoke to you last, I think was in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I'm currently in northern Mexico in a town called Ensenada, Baja, California. And I think we spoke to you just a little less than a year ago, probably like 10 months ago. So in 10 months, we've driven through the USA in our solar-powered 100% electric camper van. And we've come across a few troubles on our way. Our panels got ripped off the roof, and we're here trying to repair our vehicle. So, yeah, looking for support and all that sort of stuff too, but just enjoying the process. Also, sitting still through this coronavirus situation, which I'm pretty sure a lot of your previous podcast guests are probably doing right now as well. So, yeah, just relaxing on a beach and trying to ride out this situation and fix our solar panels on our van. A little more details there. Basically, we were caught in a windstorm, and the wind ripped the panels off of the roof, and the camper van was then, the camper van was in pieces. We had to put it all back together and try to see if it worked. And then when we finally rebuilt the whole thing, the solar panels caught on fire. So we had to put an indefinite stop on the project. And then this coronavirus situation hit. So it's a bunch of compounding things that are causing our situation right now. And to not go over the 3-minute mark, I will stop here. I hope that we can have a chat on the Pursuit Zone again and get to know your amazing audience and have a chat with you again about our progress and all of that. So thanks again, Paul. I'll catch up with you again. Oh, and if you want to find us online, go to YouTube and type in Route del Sol, and our YouTube channel will pop up there. So that will get you to where you need to go to find out where we're at and what we're doing. But yeah, thanks for hitting us up and asking us about what we're doing, and I hope to speak to you soon. Catch you later, Paul. Bye.
Hello everyone, Will Copestick here. You might remember me from episode 53, where I talked about kayaking around the coast of Scotland and climbing all 282 Munro Mountains in winter, and episode 138, where I took us on a journey by sea kayak through the fjords of Chilean Patagonia. Since then, I've been based in the north of Scotland and Patagonia, and I've been starting my own kayaking company called KayakSummerIsles.com. On that, we offer multi-day and day adventures in the northwest of Scotland, leading people by sea kayak, Canadian canoe, canyoneering, and coast steering. It's been an absolute blast sharing the area that I love most in the way that I love most. In the winters, I have on occasion been jumping back down to Patagonia, having just finished my 4th season in April this year. This year was different. I took my girlfriend for the first time, and we've been enjoying the chance to adventure to some places I have seen before, and also some new mountains and new lakes that we've never visited, either of us. It's been great fun. Had all gone to plan, this week I would be kayaking around Cape Horn. Of course, the world has changed a little bit, so that plan has changed, and is now postponed for another year, where we will have another attempt. In the meantime, I'm back in the northwest of Scotland, having finished my season early. At the moment, my kayaking business is temporarily closed, and we're hoping to reopen later in the season. To keep myself busy, I've been planning a new adventure in the Outer Hebrides, which are the islands along the west coast of northern Scotland, and that will involve cycling the length of the islands, circumnavigating them by sea kayak, and climbing all the Graham and Corbett mountains, the highest mountains on the island. Of course, that too will wait until it is responsible to do so. In the immediate, I'm sitting at home doing lots of woodwork projects. I've been helping my parents in the garden and in the shed. The big expedition of the week has been to re-roof and build a greenhouse for my mum. That's okay too. It's been great fun. If you want to keep up with my adventures in future, you can find me on willcopestakemedia.com. I look forward to seeing you. Stay safe, stay well. See you soon.
Hello, my name is Dixie Dancer, and I was interviewed by Paul for podcast number 56, which was about snow kiting in Greenland. This dates from July 2014. Between July 14 and now, I've probably added a good bit of miles to a total of 8,000-ish man-hauling kilometers in the polar regions and 16,000 or so kilometers snow kiting. 2014 was the expedition around Greenland with Eric McNair Landry, and ever since then I've tried to specialize in that direction. As an outcome, the book that was published just last December, it carries the title Snow Kiting, Freedom of Flow, and is predominantly a photo book with testimonials of all sorts of pros in that field: speed snow kiters, trick snow kiters, expedition, far out snow kiters, and then of course a good deal of text explaining the how-to. That was December, and now I'm busy with a photo book eternal calendar that can be used again and again, with every day a bit of inspiration and my best photos out of a library that is now 25 years rich. We have quite a bit of guiding work that we did with the following destinations: Queen Maud Land, Antarctica for snow kiting and mountaineering and man-hauling, Switzerland, Norway, the North Pole and Greenland, and those two last ones have been on hold. Actually, the North Pole season has been cancelled because of, yes, the coronavirus, and so it gives us a bit of time for reflection. Greenland, we had 3 gigs, and so those are on hold as well. Actually, now I can concentrate on a big expedition scheduled for next year, which would be from the North Pole to Siberia with my trusted colleague Alain Hébert. And that will be a bit against the grain, against the current, and therefore we've been working with engineers to develop a new kind of flotation device for our sledges. Anything you would like to know about what we do, what's up ahead, you can find on our website, polarexperience.com. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Ralph Karsten, and I've been heavily involved in the ultra-distance cycling community, mostly the Tour Divide, which is what my interview was about a couple of years ago. And I've been continuing to ride the Tour Divide. Last year I started out in Banff and made my way into northern Colorado, where I had run out of time, but it was great. It was a fabulous ride. I had a few interruptions, one from business while I was on the way, so I lost half a day there, and I put in a fair number of half days after I started having issues with nausea after I headed south out of Butte, Montana. Before that, I was doing pretty good, but it turned out I had mold growing inside my water bottles, had no idea. Cleaned them out when I got to Lima, Montana, but the nausea was still with me for quite a while after that. I didn't start putting in 100-mile days again until I got to Atlantic City, which is just on the north side of the Great Basin of Wyoming, which I should add is spectacular. So anyway, continuing to set my sights on ultra-endurance cycling. It's proven to be immensely satisfying, and I have to say it was pretty inspiring. I met a guy on the route named Hal Russell, who was 71 this year, and last year he turned 70 while he was riding on the Tour Divide for his 6th time, having done the route in its entirety 5 times before and finished last year as well. So for older folks like me, it's really inspiring to see that sort of thing going on. Anyway, that's my hope after this pandemic thing is cleared up, that hopefully I can head up to Banff again and really take the time to do it. Of course, there's a lot of uncertainty around the pandemic issue, so none of us know what's going to go down with that. But I think I'll be continuing to ride my bicycles, and also I've been flying hang gliders for the last 40 years, and I'll probably continue to do that too. So anyway, I guess that's what I'm up to. So thanks for the opportunity. I hope all of you out there will be well. All right? You have a good day.
Hey, this is Steve and Joe.
Hi.
And we were part of episode 139 in November 2016, and we were talking about our hitchhike from Argentina to Alaska, which we did in 2014. So congratulations, Paul, on your 200th episode, and just tell you a little bit about what we're up to now.
When we got back from the trip, we lived in London for a couple of years, and then we decided that city life was not for us, so we moved to the southwest of England, where there's a lot more sky and space, and we absolutely love it down here.
Yeah, and Joe is a primary school teacher these days, and I am working for a charity focusing on abuse of religious freedom, specifically in Iran and specifically focused on Christians there.
We have a little boy who is going to be 2 at the end of the summer. He loves walking and chatting and reading, and we hope that he's going to love the world as much as we do.
But I think hitchhiking trips are out of the question for the time being, but maybe one day. We'll have to see. And if you want to find out any more about us, then you can check out our blog that we wrote about the trip. No details of our book on there as well. And it's called, the blog site is theruleofthumbtwo.wordpress.com, and 2 is the digit rather than the word. Okay, cheers, Paul.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, my name is Andy Bartlett, and I appeared on episode 128 of The Pursuit Zone. In 2016, I became the first person to take a stand-up paddleboard the length of the Danube River. 3,000 kilometres, paddling through 10 countries and 5 capital cities over 3 months. Since then, I have continued to paddle, gaining my stand-up paddleboard instructor qualification. I have completed a length of the River Thames in 4.5 days, solo and unsupported. And 12 months after completing that, I returned, but this time with a good friend of mine, Spike Reed, as we became the first people to descend the length of the non-tidal Thames on a tandem stand-up paddleboard. Aside from paddling, I have undertook various other adventures. At the end of 2018, I decided to run home for Christmas, covering 150 miles over 6 days because it sounded more fun than just getting a train. Probably my biggest undertaking since the Danube paddle was to cross Europe once again, this time by bicycle. I realised when paddling the Danube that I was seeing the countries from a very unique perspective, and one that not many people would get to experience in their lives. I also understood that paddling on the river can have its limitations. You are not always able to get off the river when and where you would like, and even if you can make it onto the banks, you still have a 12-foot-long inflatable paddleboard, 110 litres worth of equipment, which is not always easy to leave safe and securely. This meant there were many places I was unable to visit, even if they were only a few hundred metres away from the river's bank. So, in 2018, I left my front door, cycled the 750 kilometres from London to the start of the Danube in Donaueschingen on the edge of the Black Forest in Germany, and then used the river as my navigation tool once again as I descended to the 3,000 kilometres to Romania and the Black Sea where the Danube ends. It was an amazing second journey along that river, and one that showed me a completely different side to all of the towns and villages I had passed through. It was lovely to be able to explore further from the banks, to look down on the river instead of up at the cliffs, and to meet a whole new world of people and to create a new realm of experience. I am often asked, will I return a third time to the Danube to complete the triathlon? The word running the Danube is often thrown at me, and so far that is one I have resisted. A few reasons for that. One, the run would take me along many of the same roads and paths that I cycled along, meaning that gaining a new perspective would not always be easy. But secondly, because I want to experience more, I want to venture further from the Danube River. And so maybe the third time down the Danube will have to involve some form of motor. I still have unfinished business with that part of the world, and I will return one day. If you would like to read more about the journeys I have completed and follow my future adventures, you can find me on Facebook at Andy Bartlett and visit my website, followandy.com.
A big thank you to all those who participated, and thank you for listening to this episode. So, getting to 200 episodes, man, I mean, it's so much work, I don't even want to think about it. But my plan is to keep going, keep making episodes. First of all, as long as I'm having fun and you continue to listen and you continue to send me some feedback. There's 2 ways you can send me feedback. One, via email, paul@thepursuitzone.com. That's my email address. The second way is you can leave a voice message at speakpipe.com/thepursuitzone. So until next time, you can find everything at thepursuitzone.com.